Hi, and welcome back to the show. Today we are joined by Jim Carvin. He is with TNG Real Estate, a broker associate, and he's located in California. Well, Jim began investing in real estate in 1989, and by 2006, he had properties all across the United States, including Hawaii. In 2009, Jim began specializing in short sales. His team of financial packagers, negotiators, and agents has helped hundreds of distressed homeowners avoid foreclosure and bankruptcy and rid themselves of the debt associated with underwater properties. And he's doing it in one of our nation's hardest hit areas. So, Jim, how are things out there in sunny California right now?
Hey, the weather is great. There's plenty of sunshine and mild temperatures. That's why we pay way too much to live out here.
Jim, the skyrocketing home values in California began their free fall in 2006, and by 2008, thousands who purchased near the peak were already in foreclosure or short selling. But now, here we are years later, and many parts of our country, this situation has already turned around. Why are so many people in Southern California still facing this foreclosure issue?
Well, you know, the economy here in California is not good. Increased taxes and regulations continue to drive out businesses and jobs, and with more new taxes and regulations coming, we're expecting it to get even worse before it gets better. In many cases, people have had, they've lost their jobs and had to move out of state or had to take lower paying jobs just to stay here in California.
But haven't some of the government stimulus programs been helping people stay in their homes? What about loan modifications?
Well, you know, unfortunately, very few people were actually able to find help in those programs. First, there was Hope for Homeowners, and then Making Home Affordable, and now HARP. They just keep coming out with more programs because they're not working. Some people are still trying to get a loan mod, filling out the same forms over and over again, quarter after quarter. And even if they get approved, they could still get denied after the 3-month trial. And of course, getting a principal reduction through all that is like winning the lottery. So holding on to a house that's still underwater, even with better payments, doesn't make sense.
Well, what about a deed in lieu of foreclosure? That sounds like it might be a simple way to basically walk away from a house.
I know it sounds simple, and they claim to do it, but the banks really don't want to do those. So when you call and ask for that, they just tell you to apply for a loan mod or do a short sale.
So you've been involved in distressed property sales for some years now. Are you saying that a short sale is really the way to go for a homeowner who's in serious trouble?
You know, a short sale is a very effective solution, but it's not for everyone. First, you have to be underwater, meaning you have to owe more on the house than it's worth. And you have to be financially stressed, meaning barely able or completely unable to make the payments. And if the house is dragging them down like the Titanic, most people are very reluctant to move from the house because there's an emotional attachment. Selling right now was not in their original plans when they bought the house. And there are a number of strategies that can help people stay in the house, even if they can't afford the payments. So I actually create a report called 5 Ways to Keep Your House Even If You Can't Afford It. And I offer that report free on my webpage, ocshortsalemasters.com.
Well, so Jim, tell our audience exactly what is a short sale.
A short sale occurs when the money from selling the house is not enough to pay off the loan and the bank forgives the remaining balance. The seller walks away without having to finish paying off the loan because the debt is forgiven. To our clients, it feels like a miracle, and obviously you need professional help to make that happen.
It does sound somewhat miraculous, actually. What does a short sale do on behalf of one's credit?
Well, assuming that the mortgage was the only major problem in a borrower's credit history, a homeowner who does a short sale should expect to be able to buy another home in about 3 years.
And what about one's net worth? What can a short sale do in that situation?
That's a great question. So let me take a second just to make sure everyone knows what net worth is. If you add up all your assets, the things you actually own, and subtract your liabilities, all the debts that you owe, the number you have left is your net worth. Most people in trouble with their real estate actually have a negative net worth because they owe so much more on the house than the house is worth. The house has what's called negative equity. So even if you own your cars and everything else and your house is seriously underwater, that negative equity can make your net worth negative. I hate to use these words, but in the financial world, a person with a negative net worth is worth less than nothing. In fact, if you have, for example, a negative net worth of $100,000, which would not be uncommon, unfortunately, out here in California, you'd have to actually earn and save $100,000 just to be worth zero.
Oh, that sounds rather depressing, Jim. How does a short sale fix that?
Well, when we do a short sale, they're selling the house for less money than it takes to pay off the bank. Obviously, the seller gets no money from the sale and can't, even afford to pay the closing costs to sell the house. And in the negotiations, the bank actually agrees to accept the proceeds from the sale as payment in full for the loan. When they forgive the debt, the seller's negative net worth from the underwater house is wiped clean, without bankruptcy.
And doesn't the IRS treat that debt forgiveness like taxable income?
Yes, they do. But in most cases, the house sold for a loss that more than makes up for the forgiven debt. In fact, I know one investor who had 4 short sales and 2 flips that went bad. And after selling all those properties, now has an operating loss carried forward of over $300,000. That means that he can now earn another $3,000 before he'll have to pay any more income tax.
Well, at what point should a troubled homeowner seek professional help then?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because December 31st of this year is a deadline for completing a short sale on your home without having to actually pay income tax on the debt forgiveness. After that, the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act expires. But really, people should start thinking about their options as soon as they realize that they're in trouble. When their reserves are already low and their income is such that they've had to skip a couple of $2,000 to $3,000 a month payments, it's time to face the fact that there's no way they're going to be able to save enough to make that up. By that point, they should already be looking for ways to protect themselves before they wind up living with relatives or out on the street. If their credit cards are getting maxed out and if they have kids, that could be a real danger.
Wow. With $3,000 a month mortgage payments and no job security, California doesn't sound like a perfect place to live anymore, does it?
Well, you have to realize that a payment that high was for a high interest rate mortgage on a house that cost too much. Houses are cheaper now, and you could move into a rental and pay a fraction of that each month. But people need to make that kind of move before they run out of money.
So is it denial, or what do you think the reason is why so many people wait so long to deal with their mounting real estate problems?
Well, we have to realize that this is a very depressing point in people's lives. People who once had a great credit score and led financially responsible lives have been cutting down on their expenses for a long time already, trying to hang on to the house. They've gradually given up, many of their social activities. They've cut off their cable TV, downsized their phone service, starting mowing their own lawns again. It's extremely hard for people to know that they have to leave the house of so many fond memories where they raised their families, planted trees and gardens, you know, upgraded the house, changed the wallpaper. Unfortunately and sadly, I'm afraid that there is some level of denial in those who have gone through their savings and are starting into their retirement accounts before they wonder what they'll do when the money runs out. You know, but a notice of default usually gets their attention.
Well, and if they already have a notice of default now, is that too late actually to call you?
No, in fact, many of our clients don't call us until they already have an NOD filed on their property, and we're very good at stopping a foreclosure at that point.
And is it a long, drawn-out, you know, stressful and painful process to do a short sale?
No, not for us it isn't. The way we do a short sale actually relieves stress. You know, I see a lot of heavy burdens relieved and lifted from people's spirits in just the half hour it takes me to do the listing. People have really been beaten up in all this, and you know, after a session with me, they're planning ahead for better times when they actually have money again.
And how much does it cost?
We don't charge the seller anything.
Okay. Well, so if somebody calls you to do their short sale, they don't have to pay you or anyone on your team or anything. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly right. And no, they don't have to pay us anything. In a short sale, the bank pays all the fees, the commissions, the seller's side title and escrow, and most of the termites, if there are any. The seller might get stuck with a notary fee or something like that, but it's nothing compared to another house payment.
Well, it sounds like a short sale is one sure way to put an end to the downward spiral that many Californian homeowners are still facing today. What's the first step in getting started with a short sale then?
Well, if they live in Southern California, all they have to do is call us for an appointment at 8556-BAILOUT, and we'll take care of everything. They can also visit us online at www.ocshortsalemasters.com, where they might find a way to actually keep the house.
Always on a positive note, that was Jim Carvin in Orange County, California, where things are slowly but surely getting back to normal in real estate. Thanks, Jim, for joining us. Once again, if you want to reach Jim Carvin, you can check out TNG Real Estate at ocshortsalemasters.com. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you again real soon.